Willie D Live.
What's up, family? If you've recently identified yourself as a victim of identity theft, it could have something to do with your Social Security. Yeah, fam. You see, these guys right here, Donald Trump, your president, and his once bromance partner, Elon Musk, they started this little company called DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. I say it's a company, but it's more like an entity, an organization within the government, right? They said that they had started this organization to save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. You know, we're gonna figure out a way to streamline a lot of these expenses that we have, and we are going to save Americans billions. Well, as you know now, that never happened, right? But what did happen is they collected over 500 million Americans' data. That's alive and dead. They collected that data, and that data is sensitive information that has allegedly leaked into the dark web. Yeah, fam. Yeah. And they're doing whatever they want to do with that information. I want you to check out an article in The Hill, right? Social Security holds data on over 500 million Americans living and dead. Federal law restricts its use to one mission: ensuring you receive the benefits you've earned, not to deport your neighbor, not to enrich Elon Musk and train his AI, and not to keep you from exercising your constitutional right to vote. Americans have entrusted their personal data to the Social Security Administration with the understanding that it will be carefully guarded, accessed only by those who need it to ensure we receive our earned benefits. The confidentiality and security of that data has been of the highest importance to the Social Security Administration for its entire history. Indeed, the very first regulation issued by the three-member Social Security Board, the predecessor to today's Social Security Commissioner, was about keeping Americans' data secure and private. Not only was it the very first regulation, it was distributed to every employee. To this day, every single Social Security Administration employee and the contractor must complete privacy and security awareness training every single year. The privacy and security of your data that you have entrusted to the Social Security Administration was carefully safeguarded by every president, Republican and Democrat alike, until Donald Trump. When he was inaugurated, he appropriately named Michelle King, a nonpartisan, extremely experienced career civil servant, as the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration. However, when she declined to hand over all of that sensitive data, Trump removed her. Trump jumped over 120 more experienced employees to name King's replacement, a mid-level employee who was on administrative leave. Why was he on administrative leave, you might ask? Because he was providing Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency with your private Social Security data. Yeah, fam. Not surprisingly, the Trump administration is indeed sharing and misusing your data. In multiple whistleblower complaints, ongoing federal investigations, and court filings, operatives embedded in Social Security by DOGE have been accused of, get this, family, copying Social Security databases to an unsecured cloud server, exposing your personal information to hackers, scammers, and foreign adversaries, signing an agreement to share Social Security data with a political advocacy group whose stated aim was to overturn election results, storing Social Security databases on a personal thumb drive to take to their next employer, a private government contractor. SSA employees are also raising alarm bells about being forced to share data with the Department of Homeland Security to target immigrants. As awful as all of this is, it's likely just the tip of the iceberg, given DOGE's utter carelessness and impunity with regard to our most private data. There's no limit to the individuals, corporations, or foreign entities who might possess it. In the words of Charles Borges, whistleblower and former chief data officer of the Social Security Administration, there could be 1 or 1,000,000 copies of it, and we will never know. SSA's data is a treasure trove of bad actors. It includes Social Security numbers, addresses, places of birth, citizenship status, mother's maiden names, spouse and children's information, and more. If people have simply applied for Social Security disability benefits, SSA has information on their medical history. This is data that scammers could easily use to fool people into stealing their benefits. Stealing one's personal Social Security data is a felony. DOGE is accused of stealing the data of 500 million Americans, living and dead. That amounts to the greatest data theft in history. Musk and his DOGE operatives did not act alone. They were enabled by the conservative majority of the Supreme Court. A lower court cut off DOGE's access to Social Security data, but the Supreme Court issued a preliminary injunction restoring it. They were also enabled by Republicans in Congress who refused to support Democratic efforts to investigate DOGE operatives and hold them accountable. These damn Republicans are making the Democrats look like angels right now. Okay, well, I won't go that far. But in any event, you're picking up what I'm putting down, fam. These guys are straight up gangsters, and they're not being held accountable. Like, this administration is not being held accountable for nothing. And it proves why it was dangerous to allow him, Trump, to be able to stack the deck with those Supreme Court justices in his first term. Because once you stack the deck and you have these loyalties, these loyalists on your side, they are going to vote consistently with what you want, not what's best for the American people. And that's what we are, fam. That's what we are. Our data has been compromised. That's everybody. That's every single person in this country, dead or alive. Well, not every single person that's dead, but every single person that's alive, and many, almost 200 million dead, are being affected by this. Fam, you know, it's one thing for them to use your information illegally, right? Steal your identity. Then you find out that somebody's been using your deceased loved one's information, and they're doing all types of stuff with it. How would that make you feel? These people have no shame, and they have no fear of being caught. They have no fear of going to prison. I think Elon Musk believes that because he is the richest man on the planet, that's as close as you can get to the president and not go to jail. You see, I think that he believes that, look, I just go to South Africa, I can go anywhere, I can pay anybody any amount of money, especially in the US. The US is for sale. It is absolutely for sale. And don't try to come for me with this little chump change stuff, because that ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these dudes who's sitting on billions. I'm talking about that kind of money. They are for sale. And you ain't really got to have billions, but if you got billions, it's absolutely for sale. Case in point, Epstein files. All of those rich and famous people who are worth billions, hundreds of millions and billions. Not one of them, not one found in the files, not one has been brought to justice. Not one. I want you to let that sink in. No more talk.